What up, guys? So we got a YouTube question from John who said he's having trouble finishing knee bars. So he's getting into knee bars, getting the initial grip locked on and everything else, but he can't finish them from there. And he's asking the Chewster if I have any tips on finishing knee bars. I do have a few tips. And also, I was just showing this to Marvin because Marvin has been going to our Jiu-Jitsu Open competitions for the last year, and he's probably, I don't know, you're probably almost at like 20 or 30 knee bars. It's been his move for whatever reason. It's been interesting to watch because he's a blue belt, and you can see this game like showing itself through the competition because it was like, I think it was like, was it Myrtle Beach was your first one? He hit like back in March or April, he hit one knee bar, two knee bars, and all of a sudden it was like at each tournament it was like, oh, this is my move. And it's kind of fun to see that because that's what happens a lot of times in competitions. Your game's put to the test and a game starts to emerge from it. But anyway, with that said, I was showing him a clip of that. I'll put that at the end. Let's talk about some tips on finishing a knee bar, making it a lot tighter. All right, John, so I don't know how exactly you're setting up your knee bar, but again, what I'm going to show you is really not going to be dependent upon any specific knee bar finish, right? So let's talk about the finish and then we'll kind of work our way back a little bit. So there's ways to finish the knee bars at different angles, right? I'm going to show you, again, the kneecap when it's facing us, so this kind of traditional knee bar. Again, there are ways to finish this where it's off to the side. You can just basically break someone in that sense. But we're gonna say like this traditional knee bar that most people are trying to get to, especially when you guys are in your first few years of training. So one of the big tips that was really helpful to me is getting the big toe next to my ear on the side of my face away from the other person. So think about this. If I like hold this leg right here, that does enable him to use this leg here to possibly kick my elbow off, to just get in the way, right? Also my lock is over here, so if he could sit up somehow, he might be able to grab onto stuff. Whereas if I put this big toe next to my ear, I now have a little bit of separation and I've isolated his leg from his other leg. This is very similar to arm locks, right? If you want to think about arm locks in Jiu-Jitsu, one of the main things that we're trying to do is separate one arm from the other, right? So like one of my arm locks, I really like my shotgun arm bar. One of the things that you're really trying to do is isolate this arm away from the other one, so if he tries to connect his arms together, he can't, so he can attack this. And that's pretty much always what you're doing with arm locks. You're isolating one arm from the other one. Well, the leg locks are, especially like these knee bars, are not much different. Knee bar is literally like an arm bar on the knee. If he can configure for his legs, that's going to be a problem, right? So what are we trying to do? We're trying to isolate these legs away from each other and then get control. Now, we have this isolation going. That's good. Now, here's another thing that I see people mess up. They stay here kind of on their side and they'll just extend. And you can get the finish, right? You can get the finish eventually, depending on the situation or how inflexible the person is. But, again, if we want to tighten this up, make it a little bit better, then here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take his foot, put it on the side. I'm going to grab the heel. And I like to get like a figure four grip, almost like I'm rear naked choking the foot, keeping tight. Now my body is going to be locked onto this thing, so I'm flexing everything from head to toe. You want to make your submissions a whole body movement, not just arms versus the leg or whatever. You want to use your back and your hips and everything else. Now what I'm going to do is I'm not going to look up to the ceiling. I'm going to rotate and put my back to the ground. Now what that's doing is that's tightening up the joint here. Okay, so like right now there's a little bit of wiggle room. As soon as I get this leg tight, there is no extra play in the joint. This is very similar, lay on your back for me, Marvin, to an arm bar. So when we have an arm bar, right, what do? We turn that thumb up, which tightens the joint here, and we can get our submission. If his arm is like down here, you could technically finish this way, but there's still a lot of play in the arm here. Whereas if I get that thumb up and then I go against the thumb, right? So again, that's really what you're doing. You're going basically opposite to the thumb here. I can get a lot more power out of that leg. And so that little detail there, getting here, getting my head attached to his foot, gripping, and again, pinching, rotating, and going like that, that's been very useful to me. And again, whenever we're fighting for, like the leg locks here, if we feel like we have an opportunity to go for the knee bar, once I go for it, I will dive on the leg with my head and arm to get to this position, opposed to getting here and like starting out like this. this is something I remember when I used to play with knee bars a long time ago. I'd start out here, but again, even for people who've done the knee bars to me, they can get out here, and again, there's still a lot of space. Now, assuming that you're going, and if you're having trouble finishing it, maybe you've got a really flexible person. Another really strong finish is using the leg behind the back, and you'll see this done right here, and I've even seen it done here. I tend to, again, focus on getting the space away. So again, this is perfectly fine. Plenty of people attack the knee bar here where it's behind the back on the same side as the person's body. But for me, if I'm in this position, I like to get up here and get to that finish. Plus, if all else fails, if he starts to wiggle around, there's always a heel hook waiting, right? But again, those are a couple different details on finishing the knee bar, John, that might help you. Again, I don't know what setup you were using, but those are a couple things that have been helpful to me and some of my guys that play with them. And again, at the end, I'll cut in me and Marvin looking at this from a different perspective and helping him get more knee bars at the Jiu-Jitsu Open. So hopefully it helps you, brother. I'll talk to you guys next time. So go and do a knee bar for me real quick, just like from a top position you might normally use. Like right here. Oh, here. So see, you set back.
Yeah.
You created the disconnect.
Yeah.
So what I would rather you do is stay tight right here, because now if we're tight to this grip, because you got to think about, like, if there's any disconnect at all,
right,
I'm going to figure for this, and again, you keep the attack going so well that eventually, again, there's it's fine. You end up making up for it. But early on when we're going here, we want to get a lower grip here. And another thing too is think about if you grab at my knee, I have this.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can go up a little bit higher, even if you're here, if I hold tight, that's a lot harder for me. I have a lot less leverage when you're grabbing up higher up on my leg here. And then if you get your ear attached to the other side, like this, like hold that as tight as you can. Just like you can get your ear next to my toe. I can't figure for that anymore. I can't bend my leg. You've got control of that. Now if you sit back, and then from here when you're grabbing, get the figure four lock and then get that heel. Grab onto that heel there and then rotate your body up to the ceiling. Like so.
Like this?
Yeah, so basically go and hold tight. Hold super tight. Like do not, like when you rotate, don't let anything move. Like your head's gonna stay on line.
Mm-hmm.
Just roll back to your shoulders for me. There it is. And then from there, now you can begin to extend.
Oh, look.
So like when I'm doing this, right? Check this out. Give me your figure four. So when I'm getting down here like this, like as you're sitting back, whatever you're grabbing, we just want to get here. We want to get some attachment to the lower leg. But once I get here, I'm getting this attachment, right?
Uh-huh.
And then from here, as we're getting ready to go, I'm pitching everything tight. But as I go, I'm not looking.
You're like turning your own.
I'm keeping everything tight. You feel how tight that is? So that's what we're trying to do. So we're keeping everything tight, and that's why I'm grabbing the heel too. And also by having the head on this side of the leg, if I'm holding like this, there's a chance that this leg can wiggle around a little bit, but also too, you can fight that other leg here. You can fight the grips off and everything else. If I get this over top here and go, okay, so go ahead and do another knee bar for me real quick. Go through it nice and slow. So you begin to, however you're grabbing here, boom, bang, here. Now from here, when you're in position, go ahead as you're sitting back, keep your body attached to it here, and then sitting back here. And then when you're in this position, right, now you're attaching. Again, if we can get this leg through just like that, perfect. Now from here, hold it, like grab the top of my heel, right there. Now, hold your whole body like tight, rigid up. Yeah, see everything else, everything's turned on right now. I can feel like your muscles active from toe to head right now.
Mm-hmm.
Now from here, just rotate and put your shoulder blades on the mat. And then from there, you begin to extend your hips and go in.